So in my last video, I discussed the importance of competition, particularly where Overwatch 2 and Marvel Rivals are concerned, with the director of Overwatch 2 admitting that Marvel Rivals did light a fire under their asses, and it has made them kind of not play it safe anymore. It made them realize that they have to do more than they've been doing. And a big part of why the competition is possible is because game mechanics are open for other developers to take inspiration from. Marvel Rivals is not the most original game, but it did take the foundation of Overwatch and they made their own thing out of it. And in some ways, they're doing things better, and it's attracting a lot of people to Marvel Rivals. It's actually more popular than Overwatch 2 right now. And that kind of competition should be encouraged because that encourages developers to not kind of become complacent and to one-up each other. And that's how we get better and better products. But to get there, we have to ensure that when it comes to like game mechanics, that those are open and free for developers to be like, hey, what if I take that and then kind of twist it around a little bit and make it my own without fear of repercussions? And unfortunately, Warner Brothers Games is one company that doesn't seem to be about that, particularly where the Nemesis system is concerned. Recall that Warner Brothers Games recently shut down Monolith Productions, which is the studio who created the Nemesis system, and this happened because of myriad failures over the last few months and years, with them having recently lost $300 million, $200 million of which was because of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's failure, and $100 million because of Multiverse's failure. And so we saw Warner Brothers have David Haddad, the former chief of Warner Brothers Games, exit. And then beyond that, we learned that Warner Brothers Games decided to shut down 3 studios: Monolith Productions, the folks behind the Middle-earth series and who are making a Wonder Woman game, which obviously has now been canceled. And alongside that, the developers of Multiverses, they've been laid off as well, alongside one other studio. Now, the one that really hurts is Monolith Productions. I remember playing Fear in particular. I think that game series is really special, but they also made frickin' Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, and from it, they created this invention that was beautiful called the Nemesis system. Now, for those who don't know what the Nemesis system is, think of it as like this procedurally generated hierarchy of enemies. So you've got Sauron's army, and the game procedurally generates Nemesis enemies who have their own names and personalities, who remember previous encounters, and based on your interactions with individual Nemesis, they will rise or fall through the ranks. And it was genuinely one of the most inventive things we've seen. And it is unfortunately something that is trapped under Warner Brothers' like prison, their vault of game mechanic patents. And that's why we haven't seen that system utilized in other games or any developers like taking inspiration from that and making it their own. It is relegated to the Middle-earth series, and it was supposed to be something that was part of the now canceled Wonder Woman game. But when they tried to implement the Nemesis system in the Wonder Woman game, there was just a trouble development surrounding that title. So they ultimately went with like a more traditional action adventure kind of experience. But even that game got canceled after Warner Brothers decided that Monolith was just not meant for this world. And it just absolutely sucks. With the Nemesis system in particular, the lack of competition there is just really unfortunate because it's just going to make Warner Brothers get complacent. It's going to allow them to sit on the Nemesis system, not have to do anything with it because they own the patent, and so other developers aren't able to do their own spin on it. And if they were allowed to do that, it would light Warner Brothers' ass on fire to be like, hey, other developers are taking this game mechanic, taking inspiration, and doing really cool things with it. Maybe we, Warner Brothers Games, can, take inspiration from that and try to one-up them, and you'd get this healthy sense of competition with a game system that is so, like, unique and that could really have a great place in so many different types of games. But to see the Nemesis system relegated to Warner Brothers Games' incompetence is just really, really tragic. Now, while we're on the topic of healthy competition among games, entering the fray in the PvP arena is the sponsor of today's video, Mecha Break, a mech-focused, free-to-play PvP game. As a big fan of mechs, I remember Mecha Break making a pretty strong impression on me when I saw it back in Game Awards 2024.
Oh my god, look at the ferocity.
The speed. Yo, what the fuck? Where have you been all my life? Excuse me? And after having played the beta, I was pleased to find that the game played like how it looked in the marketing materials. Not only does piloting mechs in this game feel thrilling and impactful, it's also fun to test one's skills in its myriad objectives-based game modes. The variety of mechs is also pretty impressive, with 13 classes of mechs that all feel different to play, each with distinct playstyles and different weapon loadouts, roles, and specialties to encourage teamwork. They can also all be fully decked out and enhanced with additional weapons and mods, and of course, it wouldn't be a proper mech game if you couldn't customize every facet of the mech's cosmetics and color scheme to your heart's content. That's on top of your pilot also being fully customizable through a character creator and myriad cosmetic features. So yeah, if you're into PvP or PvPvE even, Mecha Break will allow you to enjoy that type of experience while living out your mech fantasies. The game does a really good job of capturing that sense of adrenaline rush and epic scale you'd want from a fast-paced mech game while allowing you to kind of make the mech of your dreams. If this game sounds like it's up your alley, you can use my link in the description below to check out the open beta, which is running right now, with the finished game slated to be released sometime in spring 2025 on PC via Steam and the Xbox app, and Xbox Series X and S. So yeah, feel free to try it out yourself using my link below. Anyway, back to the patenting of the Nemesis system on the part of Warner Brothers Games being a tragedy, especially when you consider how long the Nemesis system will be patented for. So the patent actually was approved back in 2021, which is not that long ago when you think about it. They filed for the patent many years ago, but it got approved in 2021, and it will not expire until 2035, which is 10 years from now, or at least that was the information back in 2021. Now, from Stephen DiCillo, we have news that Warner Brothers' patent on the Nemesis system actually expires on August 11th, 2036. So that's 11 years from now. That's 11 years where it's possible that we may not see the Nemesis system. Now, there is a possibility that Warner Brothers may license out their patents. That's something that they can do if they so desire, but there's also no guarantee that that will actually happen. And so the fate of the Nemesis system in terms of its ability to kind of be in a game in some form, it's really uncertain. It's really going to depend on Warner Brothers' actions. But given their recent actions, I'm just not going to hold my breath that they're going to be able to take the Nemesis system and utilize it in the best way possible, or let others utilize it in a way that will allow this really unique system to shine. So beloved is this system that despite the last Middle-earth game having come out many years ago, people still remember it fondly, which is why people are talking about how the Nemesis system being trapped under Warner Brothers' incompetence and their just utterly short-sighted way of handling their studios to the point where you'd shut down a legendary studio like Monolith. Why tweets like these are getting so much traction, millions of views, tens of thousands of likes, with folks like this individual mentioning how they not only disallow everyone else from using a similar system, they basically decide to never use this system again, at least in the foreseeable future. Indefinitely, the Nemesis system will just kind of fade into the ether. And beyond that, the fact that the patent lasts till 2036, and they're going to do, or most likely, they're probably not going to do much with it, just makes this patenting situation incredibly frustrating. And it's frankly something that should not be allowed, something that the law should be able to intervene in to ensure that companies can't do stuff like this, because it genuinely hampers creativity and it genuinely hampers games' ability to evolve as they have through what has been this vicious cycle of taking inspiration from game systems, combining them into a game, and then potentially creating something new through that, and then other developers coming in, taking inspiration from that, and taking the ball and running with it, and then passing the torch to another developer, and then that developer takes that torch and transforms it into something else or makes it better somehow, and that torch keeps getting passed on, and that's how we've come to where we're now with gaming. That's how gaming has become as prominent as it is, how gaming has kind of progressed to the degree that it has. And this patenting of game mechanics is a complete detriment to that. It is the complete antithesis of how games are able to kind of grow Like, it's one thing if a developer copies, designs and artistic elements, and like you just kind of copy a game in a way where you could confuse a developer's game for another, then that's fair. But game mechanics, how a game functions, the gameplay stuff that is at the core of how you interact with the video game, to patent those elements, frankly, should be illegal. And this is a sentiment held by many across social media and the gaming community, gaming pundits, including developers like Bear McCreary, who is the composer for God of War, among many other incredible works, who kind of noted how this whole situation is just a tragic waste, not only in terms of the Nemesis system, but also just the fact that Monolith, this kind of beloved, storied developer, is getting canned. Is just, immensely unfortunate and immensely frustrating, and just straight up tragic. We got folks like Synth Potato here talking about not only how just what kind of amazing history Monolith has in terms of just the amazing games that they're able to output if nurtured correctly and if they're allowed to cook, but the Nemesis system itself being patented and it being illegal to be used by other studios, and how companies like Warner Brothers Games just kind of restrict the betterment of gaming and the kind of the inspiration behind the vicious cycle of drawing from ideas. All of that I think is incredibly valid. And the fact that this kind of post has gone so viral over the last few days and weeks highlights how passionately people feel that this is just not morally correct. Like, it doesn't do anything good for the games industry. It's the equivalent of like if one sport said that only us, we have patented the throwing mechanic, and only this sport is allowed to have throwing in the game and in the game mechanics. Like, that'd be ludicrous. It's more about the overall shape of the sport and how they use the throwing element and the rules surrounding it. That's what makes that particular sport unique. Or it'd be like if a movie was like, we're going to patent crane shots because we were the first ones to do it, and we came up with it, and we patented it, and now nobody else can use it. But it's not the crane shot that makes a movie unique. It's how you utilize the crane shots. It's how you utilize that particular mechanic. And other cinematographers should be allowed to take inspiration of crane shots and utilize them in their own way through their own artistic vision. And that's how you get unique works. And, you've got cinematographers and movie directors and movie makers who are taking inspiration from each other and often referencing each other, and then like just kind of upping the ante for each other. It's not the Nemesis system itself that makes Middle-earth what it is. It's everything on top of the Nemesis system is what surrounds it. And so other developers could take the Nemesis system and still make a game that's very different from Middle-earth. It doesn't have to be a direct copy of that. They can make a game that cannot be confused for Middle-earth while still utilizing the mechanics of the Nemesis system to create an experience that could potentially take that system and really kind of do something really creative with it that not even Middle-earth could have thought of. And that's how you get this healthy competition that drives creativity, that kind of brings about new ideas that came from old ideas, and that, at least as far as the Nemesis system is concerned, has been completely abolished by Warner Brothers Games. Utterly asinine moves, including the shutdown of Monolith. Like, the fact that even internally they've shut down any semblance of allowing the Nemesis system to thrive. Now, do keep in mind that Warner Brothers Games is not unique in the patenting of game mechanics. There are other companies who have done this. You've got like Crazy Taxi's Objective Arrow. That was patented back in the day. You've got Final Fantasy's Active Time Battle, Splinter Cell's Last Known Position, the Dialogue Wheel in Mass Effect, which is just freaking ridiculous. And of course, Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system. That is kind of the most prominent example. Because some of those other elements, you can kind of work around it, but the Nemesis system is so all-encompassing in how much it affects a game's design and the gameplay that to patent something that major, it could kill off so many potentially really neat, unique, cool ideas that can be done with that system had there not been this fear of repercussions that developers feel if they try to kind of make something similar to a Nemesis system. Hell, you've got companies like Namco who are patenting frickin' loading screens and stuff. Thankfully, this patent already expired, and so there's nothing they can do about it now. But like, it just feels so stingy and trivial and detrimental. And Nintendo's also a really bad culprit of this. I mean, they're trying to patent a lot of like Tears of the Kingdom mechanics, some of it like really basic and broad stuff, others more specific to some of the unique elements that Tears of the Kingdom implemented. But the irony behind all of this patenting is that so many of those games that patent their own systems utilize systems that other games came up with that they took inspiration from, and now they're trying to stifle the ability for other developers to take inspiration from them. Is just so hypocritical. Nintendo is also the company that tried to sue Palworld by utilizing their patents involving throwing balls that capture monsters. Apparently, this is something that the Pokemon Company has patented, and the Pokemon Company is a prime example of why competition is important. That company has gotten incredibly complacent. While, people still love Pokemon, there's no denying that their games have evolved incredibly slowly, and they feel safe and complacent in doing so because there hasn't been competition that has been able to take that crown away from them or has been able to threaten to take that crown away from them. And so the patenting of game mechanics stifles the ability for other companies to be able to kind of do their own take on a Pokemon-style game and put their own spin on it and kind of burn a little fire under Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's ass so that they evolve, because now you've got this other thing that you have to one up, kind of like how Marvel Rivals did with Overwatch, and that's a healthy thing. But corporations being corporations and wanting to own everything because their priority is to make money, and if they own something unique and they don't allow anyone else to take inspiration from that, they can make more money. That being their goal, of course, this is the path that they pursue, but that should just not be allowed. No one company should be able to monopolize a game system like the Nemesis system, or freaking throwing balls at creatures to catch them and stuff like that. Which is why one thing I'll say about Blizzard and Aaron Keller, the game director, is that I respect that Aaron Keller came out and said, I actually don't mind the competition. If anything, it puts a certain kind of pressure on us and makes us go, okay, we can't play it safe anymore. And he talks about how competition is actually a good thing. It's why I appreciate companies like FromSoft not going after all of the Souls-likes, right? And said, what that does when you allow those genres to kind of be taken inspiration from, you allow that genre to become more popular and to grow, and it benefits everyone. It's like a win-win situation. I think in some part, FromSoft games have become more popular because the Souls-like genre has kind of grown because they've allowed the Souls-like genre to kind of expand, and they're not going around suing everyone who take inspiration from the Souls-like mechanics. They're allowing all that to run free, and plenty of developers have kind of come up with really cool twists on that formula, while FromSoft still does its own thing and still does it best, frankly. But maybe FromSoft also is able to take inspiration from ideas that other developers who took inspiration from the Soulsborne genre kind of were able to execute on. And then, this thing can kind of keep bouncing back and forth, and the one-upping can continue until games just keep getting better and better, and everyone wins as a result. And so, the patenting of game mechanics is one of the things that I abhor the most. And Warner Brothers games, the Nemesis system, the downfall of Monolith as a result of Warner Brothers games, just their executives' incredibly short-sighted decision-making, and the Nemesis system's kind of falling and kind of, at least until the foreseeable future, dying with Monolith. All of that culminates in a situation that just makes Warner Brothers games exhibit A of why patenting game mechanics sucks, and why this kind of stuff just should not be allowed, should never be encouraged, and should be something that, there should be legal interference. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current status of the Nemesis system and the fact that it's kind of imprisoned behind a patent, and just your general thoughts on game systems and game mechanics being patented by companies. Share your thoughts below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.